Welcome to Share Truth Applies Scripture. My name is Jordan Shambly, and I am joined, as always, by Wesley Wildman.
You have the best radio voice of all time.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You can't beat that.
And today, on this episode with us, we have over the phone the Benham brothers.
Yep.
We have David and Jason Benham with us. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us, guys.
Awesome.
Look forward to talking with you guys. And you know what? He's right. Wes is right. Your radio voice is incredible.
It is incredible.
I'd love to see what your face looks like.
It's nothing like my voice, I assure you.
That's funny.
Well, we're glad to have you on the show, and our audience. If you you might have already seen them if you caught the AFA at Home broadcast live stream, I believe it was.
It was live stream, premiered on afaaction.net.
Yes.
It was a town hall, virtual town hall. A lot of people got to tune into it, but for those that missed it, go to afaaction.net and you can watch a virtual town hall with David and Jason Benham, Tim Barton, Sandy Rios, David Lane, a handful of other people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, some really
Richard Land.
Yeah,
Sorry, not
yeah.
David Lane.
No,
Richard Land.
It's a really good lineup of people, and you can check that out again at afaaction.net if you missed it. But the Benham brothers, they've made a name for themselves, talking about pro-life topics, talking about standing up for what you believe in, I think is what.
Yeah, not just audibly, like physically. Like
Yeah,
they've been thrown in jail over this.
Yeah.
So, hey, on a serious note, before we get into this, we want to talk about an idea that God's given y'all and that y'all are running with and is doing exceptionally well. But before we get there, introduce yourself. Tell them a little bit about how you began your ministry. Obviously, y'all been in ministry for quite some time, but it wasn't until y'all got fired from a TV show is when most people begin to really catch on to what y'all do.
Well, this is David talking. I'll go ahead since I'm the firstborn. I'm going to go ahead and jump in.
There you go.
That's right. But yeah, Jason and I we played pro baseball after we graduated from Liberty University, and then we ended up starting a business in Charlotte, North Carolina, a real estate company which grew to 100 offices in 35 states. While we were growing that business, we started a pro-life ministry. And at the height of all of the growth of those things, HGTV gave us a straight-to-series reality show set to air in the fall of 2014. And when they started running commercials and all these other things, they already knew who we were. They knew we were strongly pro-life and pro-marriage. We made that very clear before we even signed with them. But once the commercials started running, that's when all the activist groups and the cancel culture, we were cancel culture before it became a hashtag.
Yeah, that's right.
And they circled the wagons around the executives at HGTV and said, we're going to go after you guys and your advertisers and all that. And HG, for, several weeks, they fought for us, but they ended up succumbing to the pressure, firing us. And then as a result of that, Jason and I were asked multiple times, do you want to apologize? Do you want to apologize? And we were like, apologize for what? For saying that God's blessings are found within his boundaries, and that if you replace the boundaries of God, then the blessings are replaced with burdens? We don't think that's hateful. We actually think that's loving. So anyway, that's kind of how we hit the scene, and the rest is history. Now, Jason and I, we're still building businesses. We're writing books and encouraging entrepreneurs and business owners and just everyday people that work, stand strong for the Lord.
Right.
Let me hop in here real quick. Y'all's testimony is one I use many times in my Bible lessons or sermons or whatever. Y'all are a modern day example of Daniel, because what most people, and at least in America, Christians, a lot of people are really scared to do what's right for the purpose of the consequences of doing what's right. But they don't take into account that, there are a lot of times where it is difficult and there are consequences and it is painful and all that. And, the world comes after you. That's true. However, would you say, though, that what God has done for y'all in y'all's ministry, in your speaking engagements and your platform has not, would you not say that it's grown as a result of your obedience?
Yes, this is Jason speaking, and yeah, absolutely it has. And we always told people that God never intended us to be reality TV superstars.
Sure.
He had divine sabotage on that one. He just wanted us to be put in the public eye to get our rear ends fired in front of everybody and then give us an opportunity to stand strong. So that's the way that our platform was then built, was on encouraging Christians. Look, stand strong. And if you read our first book, whatever the cost, you'll see, well, we had our own bouts with fear and doubt and, wanted to bow to the pressure and all that. Fortunately, God brought other accountability around us and godly brothers who held our arms up, and we were able to stand strong. But, yeah, you're exactly right, Wesley. When you stand strong for the Lord, look, he doesn't promise fame and fortune and all that stuff, but he does promise that you'll get peace.
Yeah.
And if he gives you a platform to go along with that peace, then so be it.
Yes.
But for the folks that just want the platform and not the peace, those are the ones who are not standing strong right now, and it's a dangerous place to be. So we're thankful to God for it.
Yeah, and that's why he said Daniel is a perfect example, a modern-day example, because Daniel said if God will bring us through this fire, we trust in him for it, we believe he will, but however, if he chooses not to, I'm still not going to bow the knee.
Yeah.
I'm still going to remain faithful. So that's
good.
exactly right. Hey, listen, so Jordan, I know we have him on for a specific reason. I wanted people to know about what kind of Christians we're dealing with, because we're about to get into some.
Yeah. And I think it makes this next part all the more, I guess, powerful.
Sure.
In a way. You have this idea, or it's more than an idea now. It's taken form, and it's going to happen pretty soon. This is called Expert Ownership Live. You guys are wanting to help business owners and entrepreneurs, like you say on your website here, serve God, thrive in business, and succeed in life. And your backstory here, I mean, you guys know what it is to count the cost of following Christ and to lay down the promise of earthly renown and earthly riches for His glory. And it makes this part of your ministry all the more powerful, that you're willing to come alongside business owners who want to follow Christ, who want to serve God, and you're wanting to help them do this in very practical ways as well. So I'm excited to hear more about what Expert Ownership Live is.
Yeah, well, this is David talking again, and I'll tell you, the same values that got us fired actually got us hired in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's what you know what I'm saying? And even you've mentioned Daniel a couple of times. The very thing that got Daniel persecuted actually got him promoted. It was the values. It was the Judeo principles that Daniel had that made him third in command in Persia. It made him the top advisor to the king in Babylon. And so, yet at the same time, those same values led him into the lion's den. But he wouldn't bow either way, only to God. And that's what happened with Jason and I. Why did HGTV even come to us in the first place? Well, we had 100 offices across 35 states. We had multiple companies. We started an overseas missions giving company where we recirculate all the profits. And that company now has 1,500 employees. And yet Jason and I, by God's amazing grace, we're still married to our wives. We have kids. We have relationships with our kids. So we have work-life balance. We have the ability to scale our company. We have the ability to build our team. We have the ability to manage our money to where we could transcend and go from wantrepreneur to solopreneur to entrepreneur, but ultimately to seeapreneur, which means you transcend the system, and now you don't focus on income. You can focus on impact. Well, we want people to have that.
Yeah.
So instead of us just curling up into a ball and crying because we lost a reality show and the promise of millions and millions of dollars, we said, you know what? Let's start an online digital course called Expert Ownership. How to serve God, succeed, serve God, thrive in business, and succeed in life. How can we do that? So what Jason and I did is we built a course called Expert Ownership, and we put it into 6 modules. And the Daily Wire heard about us with Ben Shapiro and all those, and they're like, we want to get behind you guys. John Maxwell, Dave Ramsey, a lot of these big names have endorsed us, and they said, we really like what you guys are doing. So Jason and I felt like, now just before the election, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners, and just people that just go to work every day, right? That's the average, everyday, hardworking American. They need some principles and some encouragement and hopefully some tips and tricks on how they can make more money and also serve God at the same time in the midst of this context, and also succeed in life with their family. And so we put together Expert Ownership Live. That's a virtual summit, October 21st and 22nd. And we're doing we've got 12 entrepreneurs, some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the country. John Maxwell is speaking. He's doing a talk for us called Players versus Pretenders. How do you know which one you are? We've got the founders of OtterBox are on with us. We've got the Duck Commander family. You guys know them. The Crazy Robertsons are going to be on with us. I mean, we've got John Bevere talking about kingdom leadership inside business. We have Michael Jr. talking about how to be an entrepreneur in the comedy space. Then on day two...
Wait, in the comedy space? Now that is something I want to hear because...
Hey, listen, it is awesome because of the stuff that he brings to the table is like, how do you succeed online?
Right.
Right? Because that's what he's doing now. He had to pivot with COVID. And, I mean, all of his events got canceled. But he pivoted, and now his company is soaring. And we're like, okay, how can we bring that to our audience?
Good.
And then on day two, Jason and I are actually opening it up to our own personal team, to the people that are in the trenches with us when it comes to branding, when it comes to public relations, when it comes to sharpening your voice, when it comes to managing your money. We're opening it up to our own personal team and then taking questions. And then we're just going to workshop on day two. And so from now, beginning this week, we started a discount, $97, gets you both days. And that also gives you the ability to watch it and rewatch it. And this is the content that is going to be delivered is incredibly valuable. And so that's the reason why, Jason, we're so excited about it, because we're not just the guys that are saying, hey, stand strong for your faith. We're saying, hey, here's some very practical ways on how to do that in the marketplace right now.
Wow.
Hey, what's the website people can go to?
ExpertOwnershiplive.com.
Yeah.
All right, ExpertOwnershiplive.com. A couple of things that came to mind that I wanted to ask you about as I was hearing you tell people a little bit of the layout of what they can expect and anticipate is you're probably going to get a lot of small companies or those that are self-employed following the COVID shutdown, lockdown. A lot, obviously, y'all know a lot of jobs were lost, and a lot of small mom and pop businesses and companies and restaurants were shut down, and a lot of them won't be able to recover from that, but they'll have the opportunity with God's help to start a new business. And so this is a good.
That's right.
Did y'all have any idea? There's no way y'all would have known that y'all are launching something that's not only practical and biblically based, but timely with following a pandemic. Did y'all have? I mean, when did y'all have this idea? Because you understand the timing here is perfect.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we had the idea last fall, and we started creating this crash course that's expert ownership, and it's the actual course that David talked to you about. We released that course on the day that Donald Trump declared a state of national emergency in America because of COVID back in March, right? Yeah. So. And then we had the idea for Expert Ownership Live a few months after that. And what we realized is more and more people going home and working from home. And you know what? Businesses are discovering is that most of them are more productive that way.
Yes.
And so now we have these online products with this digital course that basically teaches you, like what David said, how can you crush it at work? How can you do that? And then if you're a leader, how are you going to run your business in such a way to where you can take your active income from your business and convert it into passive income from your investments so that you can make an impact, focus on an impact and not just income. But then this live event, David and I are like, let's get some of the best expert owners that we can think about and get them to give us their take on expert ownership and how you can thrive in every area of your life and crush it at work. And so, yeah, you're exactly right, Wesley. We're looking back on it now and thinking, well, God, every time that you close the door, something seems hopeless, it always works out in the end. And that's an encouragement for anyone who's listening to this, that, if you're walking through something right now that's really difficult, just know that God uses that struggle. He uses that strain to increase your strength. And when he closes one door, it's because he's opening another one. And it's important for you to trust God in the middle of those situations.
Yeah, I've got a who's list here of entrepreneurs, not just entrepreneurs, but Christian conservative entrepreneurs who are for free market and capitalism and for self ownership
Right.
and private property. And I mean, this is just a huge list here. You can go to expertownershiplive.com, expertownershiplive.com.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it a couple of times while we were talking, but the idea of succeeding in life, I know you talked about having a good work, family life kind of balance there. And one of the names on your list here is Phil Robertson. And when I think of Phil Robertson, I think the first thing I think is
guns.
Well,
oh, sorry.
I was going to say beard, but the
Beard.
next thing I think is Family Man.
Yeah,
really.
that's right, yeah.
Like you think of him in the context of his family, and during the virus going around and the quarantine happening, a lot of people who would be at the office are now with their families every day, and so that kind of balance is more important now than ever, I think. So it sounds like y'all are going to touch on this issue quite a lot, right?
Yes, we're going to be talking about the work-life balance. We're going to be talking about how can we parent in the middle of these things, and just asking questions of, I mean, the owners of Otterbox, Kurt and Nancy Richardson, they've got kids that grew up in the business with them, and their kids are now entrepreneurs, but they're still absolutely, all their family is intact, and they love each other, and there's unity there. And we're going to ask them questions. Hey, how the heck do you do that?
Yeah.
How can we keep a busy schedule? How can we really go after impact around the world? How can we step into this cultural crisis in the middle of America and still really focus and be intentional on our kids, especially our younger kids who don't even know what's going on, right? How can we go to the park and kind of detach ourselves from the pain of what we see on the news and really dive into the lives of our kids and be intentional? So we're going to be asking these kinds of questions, and we'll just see where the answers go.
Right.
You know, it's so important that we, as Christians, not leave our faith in church on Sundays. And I say church, I mean the building, the church.
Right, yeah.
We know, we've talked about we've reminded our audience, and we remind ourselves often on our program that the church is the people of God, not the building.
Right.
But we do appreciate and we're grateful for the local body of Christ and the facilities, so to speak, that help coordinate church, so to speak, in the Great Commission. However, we're grateful for that, but we don't need to leave that there. And I'm so grateful that y'all have stepped out and been an example to show Christians that, yet again, this is one more area of life that we can glorify God in. But, you know, between entertainment and education and other areas that we have taken or removed God from, a lot of the times Christians think that we don't need God. I don't know. It could be a couple reasons. Either they think they don't need God for this, or maybe God doesn't speak specifically to this. Whatever scenario, we do find in a lot of cases that Christians don't see this as an area that they can influence the kingdom for, and it is. And so, what are some ways with your Expert Ownership Live that y'all are going to discuss? Like where in Scripture are you drawing principles from as far as the way you operate a small company?
Well, you know, David and I are going to open up the event, basically giving people a charge to realize who they are. You know, what you were saying there earlier, how you got to be able to live out your faith outside of the four walls of the church building. So what Satan does is he robs us of our identity, and we think that church is just what we do on Sunday for a few hours within four walls. But church is who we are as people. And where do we spend most of our time? If it's not sleeping or home with our family, it's at work, around people, around customers and clients and colleagues and bosses and managers and all of these things and employees. Then how does God want us to act there? And so David and I, we're going to talk specifically about who are you when you go to work. And so we're going to tell people, look, you're a minister right where you are, and your work is worship. And when you make your work worship, it's at that point that God then sets you free, and you can become the worker that God's intended you to be, because everything that you do is an act of worship.
Yeah, guys, what you're saying here is the complete opposite of what the world tells people who want to be successful business owners. I mean, the core
Sacrifice
philosophy.
all things
Exactly.
at all costs.
Like lay yourself down. Like that's completely contrary to what the world wants us to do, and I love that. I love that you're offering this to people who honestly are really struggling these days. And this is really, really great. So
I just don't know how you're getting away with doing it for just $97. I mean, with the names that you listed and the time period that you've given, will this be archived? Are they going to be able to come back to it after the fact?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to have it where you can play it back, and if you can't make it on that day, just go ahead and jump in and get yourself a ticket.
That's awesome.
And then because we're making it so cheap, we're going to go to Don Wildman for
$150,000. Yeah. That's funny.
That's good. That's good.
Seriously though, for those that are listening, David and Jason Benham, they were on with us on the AFA at Home virtual town hall that we did on October the 8th.
The 8th, right.
So you're going to want to go back and listen to them and a handful of others. Walker Wildman was the host, my brother.
Yeah.
You can go to afaaction.net, check that out. We're so grateful anytime we get a chance to partner with them and what they're doing now. Now, is this all y'all are doing right now?
Well, we're doing several things, but this is the number one thing we're doing is pushing this out because we're recognizing what's happening in the culture today. Small business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, everything is pivoting and adjusting. Some are being devastated. Others are just skyrocketing. They can't handle their systems and their teamwork and leadership, and now what are you doing? And so we feel like this is a huge gap right now. And even people that are working for other folks that might want to start something on the side and these others, we're going to talk about all that stuff. So, I mean, the market is really big. We feel the need is strong, and this is our number one focus.
Yeah.
Well.
So what would be your message? I know we got about 4 or 5 minutes left, so y'all may have a long answer. So I just give y'all a little timeline of where we're at. But what would be y'all's answer to these people like ourselves, like yourselves, who are working in these large corporations who are under the pressure of all types of things that are ungodly or unconstitutional or just outright wrong, but they're trying to make a living. But it's the lady that's going, put your mask up. You got to do it because they're making me, you know. But they don't really believe in that, and that's just a small example with the mask deal. Yeah. But you know what I mean. Wearing gay pride shirts and all this kind of stuff. I got a couple examples of a friend of ours, a supporter of ours, who's come to me, and he was a manager of a Staples, and they were forcing him to promote LGBT in the name, but they would not allow him to promote anything pro-life because it was a religious thing. So, what do you say to somebody like that? Because you know our listening audience is going through that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's the thought mafia, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
We're getting surrounded by the thought mafia. They're demanding silence, and they'll only push one agenda, and that's the radical left, the ones that have bent themselves against Christ, against the values of freedom, the values of capitalism, the values of family. But the most important thing, this is what Jason and I say, is that we have to be excellent in our work. That's the number one thing, is that we want to be salt and light. And in order to be light, Matthew 5:16, Jesus tells us that it says that let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify our Father in heaven, right? It's the light of your good works. So we've got to be excellent. So if you're working at Staples, you know what? You should not be the person that's showing up late to work. You should not be the person that they can't trust implicitly that you're going to get the job done.
Good point.
So that when they tell you you have to go wave the gay flag, and you say, I am so sorry, it has got to hurt them that they're going to fire you, right?
Yes.
You got to make it hurt.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to fight for you, just like what King Darius did with Daniel whenever he had that stupid law, and all those people gathered against Daniel, and Darius tried to save him. He's like, oh, crud, this is my top guy.
Yep.
That's first, is we should be the top. We should be the best. We should be the most faithful. We should be the ones that are bringing incredible unity to the workplace, whatever it is. Now, second, we have to draw the line in our heart. That if they are going to cause me to stand against my convictions, then I have to draw the line. I have to be willing to lose my job. Now, I don't want that. Nobody wants that. But trust me, if we trust God, that when he closes one door, he'll open another, is Romans 8:28 real or not? And we know that all things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose, right? We have to remember that even if we lose a job, even if we lose a client or a customer for doing what is right, then God is going to take care of us. So we don't have to fear that. And the third thing, we have to let it be known. You know, think about this. Okay, so first of all, you're excellent. You've already drawn a line in your heart. And now, thirdly, you got to let it be known. There's no such thing as a secret agent or a secret Christian. That's in the CIA. You don't be a secret Christian. And when you let it be known, Jesus said that if anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this sinful and adulterous generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when he comes in his Father's glory. Right? That's Jesus. That's what he said. He says, if you're ashamed of me and my words, the words of marriage, that it's between a man and a woman, those are the words of Christ. The words of life, that life begins at conception, before your eyes saw my unformed substance, I knew you. Those are the words of Christ. When it talks about human sexuality, that a man and a woman should come together in covenant marriage, and the two will become one, that's the words of Christ. And when there's a demonic cultural agenda that wants to redefine those words, that wants to now criminalize or demonize those words, are we going to be ashamed of Christ?
Amen.
So we have to say, no, I'm going to let it be known. I'm not going to be ashamed of Christ. I trust that he's going to open a door when one closes, and I'm going to be excellent and make it heard when they let me go.
That's that's also called purposing in your heart what you're going to do beforehand. You've already kind of put the flag down. You kind of, like you said, draw the line. That's right. Hey, those are excellent points. It's that type of content and more that you will find at Expert Ownership Live, October the 21st through 22nd, expertownershiplive.com. Thank you so much, David and Jason, for being a part of the program.
Oh, absolutely. We were so happy to have you on, guys. And as always, to our audience, we want to continue to share truth and apply Scripture every day. See you next week.